Hello friend, welcome back to Toyota Maintenance YouTube channel. Here you can see 2004 Toyota Tundra SR5 4-wheel drive vehicle, and the owner asked me to perform the automatic transmission maintenance. So I pulled the dipstick out, right? This transmission still has a dipstick. I lifted it up, and using this little drain bolt, which is hopefully visible, it is perfect, I drain the transmission fluid, and it confirmed that it was needed. Look at that terrible transmission fluid contamination, right? It should be bright, right, and no contamination. This one is really bad, and that shows us that was basically needed. It's some kind of brownish. Now, how much fluid came out of that oil pan? Some of you definitely wonder about that, right? So I will measure it for you. And I'm doing this for you, right, to give you just a rough idea how much fluid comes out of that oil pan. If you wanna just replace that amount really quickly, and maybe you will do it twice, right? You will do the flush. So if you look on the left, it's somewhere between 4 and 4.5 quarts. Looking on that scale, I will say we got out 4.3 quarts of the automatic transmission fluid. Now, which fluid belongs that? That it's actually stated on the dipstick. Right. Where is it? Let me show it to you. Right here on the bottom. If you look close here, it's a Type 4. So this is how it looks from Toyota, right? If you want to use the right fluid, this is the ATF Type 4. Now the owner said the fluid's bad, it's dirty, right? And they said we have no idea when it was changed. Never, right? They were completely confused about it. So because of that, what was said, I said, okay, we will drop the pan also and replace the strainer. This strainer has that very fine mesh filtering system inside, right? And that can be full of dirt, super fine shavings, and so on. So it's a good idea in such a case to replace that. This came surprisingly, right, to you with the rubber gasket, because you know, you experts know that these are actually glued, right? The pan is glued to the body of the transmission. There is not a rubber or cork gasket. So how I will continue, I have that bolt back, you saw it, so it's not dripping on the floor, and now I have to remove all this dirt, right, because I don't want to put contamination inside. Can I see it? You see there, that little space right here? Actually, this bottom part there is a sealer, it's basically glued. I will have to remove all those screws, right, 10mm screws, which goes around. Again, they are very easily accessible. Here is the dipstick line for you, but it's splitting somewhere right here, so that's not a problem. That will go apart. And I have to remove all of this because this is high miles Tundra. This one has actually 200,000 miles. And if you will check with Toyota, they say that strainer could be replaced. I believe their numbers are 180,000 miles. That's their recommendation if you talk to the parts people at their dealer. All screws are removed from all around that pan, right? They are right here. But the pan is still attached because that gasket maker which Toyota uses works basically like a glue, right? It's glued to it. So now you have to be extremely careful to start separating this pan from the body of the transmission. Toyota actually, if you look in the manual, the factory repair manual, they have a special service tool for it. I use a combination of these and these blades, right, to carefully remove that without scratching those surfaces, which will lead to the leaks later. And here is the update on the job. Here is the only gasket, right, which is that cork, and that's on the strainer. You will be looking, or we will be looking at it from here. It will be attached with 4 bolts. Here is the rubber gasket, which I could use in the future. Here is a removed pan with some fluid in it, still approximately, I will say, half quart. Again, the same very bad, right, contaminated fluid. That dipstick tube didn't want to separate it. You see the top of it here. So it was attached here with the 12 millimeter bolt. I had to remove that because it didn't open right here. It's stuck. And here finally you will see the transmission, right? That strainer attached in 4 places. In front 2 gold bolts, and back here I see 2 more. So that will be removed and reattached. You can see it's still dripping, of course, so I don't want to put my camera underneath it. And you see that transmission body, right, with remainings of that gasket. That will have to be cleaned. And all of this gasket maker has to be removed too. And I believe here comes the most important part of this job about the health of the transmission. I was really wondering how will be the magnets, right? The magnets are collecting any metallic parts which can be from the malfunction or normal wear. And if you look in this magnet, right, it's a 3 of them. This is the drain plug, and this is the 3 magnets. I will clean them right now, but the shavings are very fine. And if you consider that this service was done million years ago regarding to the owner, I will say this transmission is still in very good shape. Here you can see the detail of the valve body after I remove that strainer, right? You can see how it continues dripping slowly, right? There was a bunch of fluid in that strainer too. Here is that old strainer. So the new part, which is down there, it's coming in and will be back fastened with those 4 bolts. Here you can see that new strainer in the place with all those 4 bolts nice, tight and snug. Here you can see the remaining of that old gasket maker sealant, right? Cleaned pan, magnets in the place, and that new rubber gasket all around, nicely sitting. So this is all ready to be installed back. So I put back that pan, right, and all those bolts, but they are not tight yet. I have to tie them to the 8 Newton meters in the crisscross pattern. So I have it nicely in place. That drain plug, if the gasket is torqued to the 20 Newton meters, I didn't forget about that bolt holding that dipstick tube to the engine, so I can lower it and start filling it with new transmission fluid. And the fluid is filled through that dipstick tube, right, which is down there. And for that, I will be using this special long and thin funnel, right, and pouring almost 5 quarts of the ATF type T4. And after that, I install that dipstick back. And now I will start the engine, let it run for a while, and then carefully start shifting through the gears to spread that new fluid through the system. And of course I was paying attention, right, to the volume of the fluid which I got out. I kept measuring it, and then we saw in the pan there was like almost quart, so we know it was approximately 5 quarts. But I'm carefully, right, standing on the brake and going through the gears, spreading that new oil, and then I will go for a test drive, because I want to bring the transmission on the operating temperature when it's hot, because I know the dipstick has a cold level, right, where you can measure it, and also the hot. But we know, all of us, we know that the transmission, automatic transmission fluid level is the best being measured when it's hot. It's way more accurate than when it's cold. So I will go for the test drive, then on the parked level, right, with the engine running like right now, right, it's in the park. You go there, you have the brake on, and you measure it, you wipe it, and you try measure and see if it's in that hot area. If not, of course it needs to be adjusted, because who says that that level was correct, right? Maybe it wasn't, maybe it was slightly low, so it needs to be adjusted, and again, all that takes time. So I'm back from the test drive, right, and I checked my fluid, and if you look at it, I'm barely touching the minimum, which is the lower area. So I definitely will go ahead and put carefully. I will start with 1/3 of this quart, right, using the funnel again, and keep remeasuring, because this fluid, transmission fluid, is getting warmer, right, and it should be probably somewhere between those notches, right? It's getting to the hot area, but now it's still colder, but it's not even touching. You see the shiny area, right? So I have to carefully start adding, right, and adjust the level. And now some of you say, well, you only diluted that transmission fluid, you didn't replace all of it, so this is not complete job. And sure, these people are right, I wasn't able to get all the fluid out, because there's a lot of fluid in the torque converter, and it got slightly diluted. So the perfect way will be, after these test drives, actually drain it again from underneath, right? Drain again those 4.7 quarts which were there, and fill it up once again with the new fluid. And that's totally up to you, of course, if you do that. I'm not against it, I agree. It's the right way to deal with it. So I really hope all this, what I've done for you in those small bits, I hope it gives you idea how this service is done, right? It's not definitely how-to video. I have no time for it. This needs to be done. The customer will be coming very soon. But I hope it gives you idea how those things are done, how much fluid, some torque numbers and so on. I try to share as much as possible in my limited time. Please make sure you are subscribed, because I have always way more coming your way. Thanks for watching, and have a great day, my friend.